Life was normal, boring even, until Janie arrived. My dad married her mom last summer. Suddenly, I had a stepsister. Janie was pretty, with blonde hair and a bright smile. She was popular too. I was the opposite. Shy, awkward, and invisible. Janie wasn't mean or anything, she mostly ignored me. I preferred it that way. Less drama, I thought. We lived in the same house but in different worlds. I was happy with my books and my computer. Janie was always surrounded by friends, her phone buzzing with messages. I never understood what they found so interesting about each other. They just gossiped and giggled all the time. I had my own online world, chat rooms, forums, and a few online friends. It was my escape from the real world where I felt like I didn't belong. One day, I received a friend request on social media. It was a typical afternoon, and I was lounging in the park, scrolling through my feed. The sun was shining, and the air was filled with the sounds of birds chirping and children playing. I almost ignored the notification, but something about it caught my eye. It was from a boy named Jake. His profile picture showed a young man with a friendly smile standing in front of a scenic backdrop. I was curious, so I clicked on his profile to learn more about him. He had seen my profile on a gaming forum we both frequented. We had a few mutual friends, and his posts were filled with interesting discussions about the latest games and books. It seemed like we had a lot in common. Jake had kind eyes and a cute smile. We started chatting. At first it was just casual conversation about our favorite games and books, but soon we were talking about everything under the sun. He liked the same things I did: books, video games, and long walks. Well, maybe not the walks. We bonded over our shared interests, and it felt like I had known him for years. Talking to Jake was easy. He had a way of making me feel comfortable and understood. We would chat for hours, losing track of time as we shared stories and laughed together. He was funny and smart. His sense of humor was infectious, and he always knew how to make me laugh, even on my worst days. We talked about everything and nothing. He made me laugh. Our conversations ranged from deep philosophical discussions to silly jokes and memes. It was refreshing to have someone who could keep up with my thoughts and make me smile. For the first time, I felt like someone really got me. Jake seemed to understand my quirks and interests in a way that no one else did. It was like we were on the same wavelength. He understood my love for fantasy novels and my obsession with the latest online game. We would spend hours discussing plot twists and game strategies, and it was clear that he was just as passionate about these things as I was. He even liked the same obscure band I was obsessed with. It was rare to find someone who shared my taste in music, and it felt like a special connection between us. We spent hours chatting every day after school. It became a routine that I looked forward to. No matter how stressful my day was, I knew I could count on Jake to be there, ready to listen and share a laugh. I looked forward to his messages. They brightened my day. Each notification brought a smile to my face, and I couldn't wait to see what he had to say next. It felt good to have someone to talk to, someone who seemed to genuinely care about what I had to say. Jake was more than just a friend. He was someone who made me feel valued and understood. Our conversations were a highlight of my day, and I cherished every moment we spent talking. Jake was everything I ever wanted in a friend, and more. He was a great listener, offering advice and encouragement when I felt down. He even messaged me good luck before my math test, which I aced, by the way. We talked about meeting up in person soon. My heart raced at the thought. I felt a connection with Jake I'd never felt with anyone before. He sent me a picture of himself once. He was even cuter than I imagined. Tall, athletic build, with tousled brown hair, and those same kind eyes from his profile picture. I showed the picture to my best friend, Sarah, the only one who knew about Jake. She squealed, "He's so cute! You guys have to meet up!" Her reaction only made me more excited and nervous at the same time. One afternoon I overheard Janie talking on the phone. Her voice was animated, filled with excitement and a hint of mischief. "I can't believe she hasn't figured it out yet," she giggled. "It's so obvious." My ears perked up, curiosity getting the better of me. What was she talking about? Who was she talking about? What was obvious? I couldn't shake the feeling that this conversation was about someone I knew. I crept closer to the door, listening intently. "I know, right?" Janie continued, her voice dripping with satisfaction. "I even used that picture he posted from the concert last year." My heart skipped a beat. "What picture? What concert?" She fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. My stomach dropped. Who was she talking about? And what had they fallen for? That picture, the concert. It all started to make sense, but I didn't want to believe it. Jake, it couldn't be, could it? My mind raced with possibilities. Could Janie be talking about Jake? But why? What could he have done to be part of this? I pushed the thought away, trying to convince myself it was just a crazy coincidence. But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. But the seed of doubt had been planted. I couldn't ignore the nagging feeling in the back of my mind. I replayed Jake's messages in my head, looking for clues. Had there been signs I missed? Little hints that something was off? Had he been too perfect? Too attentive? Too eager to please? The questions swirled in my mind. Too good to be true? I wanted to believe in him, but doubt was creeping in. A horrible feeling began to grow in my stomach, a feeling I couldn't ignore any longer. I had to find out the truth, no matter how painful it might be. I had to know the truth. I created a fake profile using a random picture from the internet. I sent Jake a friend request pretending to be a girl interested in gaming. He accepted immediately. My heart sank. I started chatting with him, using the same lingo and interests I used with my real profile. He fell for it. He even repeated the same jokes he had told me. Then came the confirmation. I casually mentioned the concert picture, the one he had sent me. "That's my cousin," he replied. "He's a model." That was it. I knew. It was Janie. It had to be. Anger, hurt, and betrayal washed over me. How could she? My own stepsister, the person who was supposed to be family, had been deceiving me all along. I confronted Janie. It was a moment I had been dreading, but I knew it had to be done. The weight of the deception had been crushing me, and I needed answers. I showed her all the messages, the fake profile, everything. Each piece of evidence was like a dagger, cutting through the facade she had built. Her face turned pale, then flushed red with shame. It was clear she hadn't expected to be caught, and the reality of her actions was sinking in. She tried to deny it at first, but the evidence was overwhelming. Her defensive body language spoke volumes even as her words tried to deflect the blame. She finally confessed, her voice barely a whisper. The admission was a relief, but it also opened a floodgate of emotions I wasn't prepared for. She said she did it for fun, that she never meant for it to go this far. Fun? I was devastated. How could she think that playing with someone's emotions was a game? I couldn't believe she thought this was a game. The betrayal cut deep, and I felt a mix of confusion, anger, and sadness. I cut off all contact with Jake and deleted my profile. It was a symbolic gesture, a way to reclaim my sense of self and start the healing process. I felt foolish, used, and heartbroken. The emotional toll was immense, and I struggled to find a way to move forward. I confided in Sarah, who was furious on my behalf. Her support was a lifeline, helping me navigate the storm of emotions I was experiencing. She helped me through the hurt and anger. We spent countless hours talking, and her unwavering support made all the difference. It took time, but I slowly started to heal. Each day was a small step forward, and I began to find joy in the little things again. I learned to be more cautious online and to trust my instincts. The experience had taught me valuable lessons about trust and the importance of protecting myself. And I learned something about Janie, that she had a lot of growing up to do. Her actions had revealed a deep immaturity, and I hoped she would learn from this as much as I had. The experience changed me in ways I never expected. I was more guarded, less trusting of others, but it also made me stronger and more resilient. I realized that people aren't always who they seem online, and that's okay. I learned to value my real-life relationships, the ones I could truly count on. I even started talking to Janie more often. We still weren't exactly close, but there was a new understanding between us. Maybe one day we could even be friends, who knows. But for now, I was okay with just being sisters, and that was enough. And I was okay with being myself. No fake profiles, no online personas, just me. It was a hard lesson to learn, but it was a lesson that ultimately made me stronger and wiser.